to episode 6 of Inktober. Hello, my name is Pen, I'm a freelance digital artist, and today we are drawing Amaterasu and Issun from the video game Okami. For the longest time I called it Okami, but to go with the Japanese pronunciation it would be Okami. Boy do I remember when this game came out back in 2006. I was in high school, and it was actually one of the last games that came out on the PS2. And interesting fact, the art style they chose was actually a way to adapt to the limitations they had. They originally wanted a different art style and had to adapt. And oh, I was obsessed with this game when it came out. It was so much fun. It was really refreshing to see a game with this kind of art style and its gameplay, the music, oh, the music. But just everything about it was so much fun. The characters were very interesting, very relatable, very flawed and vulnerable. You play as Amaterasu, this white wolf goddess. This white wolf is based off of Amaterasu Okami from the Japanese Shinto religion. She's the goddess of the sun and the universe. And most of the game is heavily based off of the Shinto religion and all of the characters within that. The way they handle the voices, the pacing of the whole story, the goal of bringing life to this corrupted universe, literally painting on the world itself as a canvas. I first got to play it on the PS2 and then try it on the Wii, and interesting enough, the PS2 version was way better. Not just because it had a bunch of features that they randomly cut from the Wii version, but also just the controls were a lot better. You would think a game that has a paintbrush mechanic would do well with a Wii controller where you can point at the TV and actually paint. But I remember being really frustrated with the Wii controller versus the joystick of the PS2. The game has such a rich art style, very bold and unique, that it made a very lasting impression on me. When drawing this, I wanted to capture some of that ink brush feel. Again, with these daily pictures, I have limited time, so I didn't really do exactly what I had in mind. I think that's pretty common with fast drawings. As an artist, you have to learn to overcome the contrast of what you're imagining in your mind versus what you actually draw. We can usually get distracted by what we're thinking of and not notice any of our strengths because we're too disappointed by what we were trying to do. I still really enjoyed drawing Amaterasu, or she's called Ami by Issun, and throughout the game, Amaterasu uses various weapons. So the idea that came to mind was to do something Halloween-based, and all I was in the mood to do was a pumpkin. I also specifically chose this expression for Ami because some of my favorite moments in the game are when Amaterasu acts like a normal wolf. She is a deity, she's a goddess. I won't spoil any of the plot, but since you play as her, you kind of get this vibe of being all powerful and magical. So I found it so refreshing to her character when she would act like a normal wolf. She doesn't have any dialogue, so everything's based off of her body language and the way she emotes. And the various scenes when she would cock her head or hang out her tongue were just so alive with personality. I guess it was actually a good thing that it was so rare because it made it more of a reward. I've always loved the design that she kind of looks like she has paintbrushes coming out of her fur. That's such a great design. I wanted to emphasize the paint on the tip of her tail. I remember anytime I would draw her in the past when the game came out, I was always hoping they emphasized the ink on her tail more, but they never really did that, so I always do. I think that's an advantage with fan art that some people can forget. If there was a certain part of the content that you loved, emphasize it, exaggerate it. If I were to do this again, I would definitely emphasize the ink feature. While playing the game, I loved the idea that this wolf would literally freeze time and use her tail to paint across the world. I definitely would have emphasized that more. When I look at this picture and think about it, I would love to do a full painting where Amaterasu is using a brush technique and creating the pumpkin. I think that would have been really cool as well, but again, limited time, had to think of something. I also have this fixation with doing witch hats apparently this month. I don't know, I like the design of a witch hat a lot, so every character gets a witch hat. There's something very satisfying of giving a wolf a witch hat. And that's it for this episode of Inktober. I hope you enjoyed it. You can always see my art at DeviantArt, Twitter, Instagram, and I have a Patreon in case you want to see daily posts. And I have my website, PenMarkArt.com. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.